Hey everyone. Oh, damn. The racial divide in the U.S. just got a whole lot wider as a consequence of the election results of Doug Jones winning out in the end over Roy Moore in the Alabama Senate race. It turns out once you break down the demographics and the who's who of what was the determining factor of who won that race, it comes down to ideological, yes, but mostly racial divide. So we're seeing results today that are showing the overwhelming majority of white, not just working class, but even well-educated voters in Alabama State. They overwhelmingly supported Roy Moore. But the numbers of people that showed up to vote for Roy Moore paled in comparison to the black voters who showed up to vote for Doug Jones. Once you see the breakdown from the polling results, it becomes quite stark and undeniable that it was completely racial. It was that racial divide that was the determining factor in the race results. Check out these numbers, folks. A full 98% of black women and 93% of black men chose to show up in large numbers to vote for Democratic candidate Doug Jones, which was apparently enough as a direct result and consequence of the power of numbers to overwhelm the fact that a majority of white voters chose to defend and support Roy Moore. And it wasn't just the knuckle draggers as the media tries to paint them as, right? Your typical white blue collar folks, right? It wasn't just those people that overwhelmingly supported Roy Moore, the white people. Even educated white Republicans still chose, male and female, to have majority support for Roy Moore. So as far as white people were concerned, it was only white people vote in the Alabama election. Today, Roy Moore would be in power and going to Senate to take that seat. What negated that, what prevented that from happening, and like I say, I got no horse in the race, so personally, I could fucking care less, right? But let's just deal with the facts, like the numbers. Like I say, the statistics that matter most is it was black people to the tune of 98% black women and 93% black men. It was that power of numbers and them showing up in a large force to vote for Doug Jones that was enough to overwhelm the white voters. And I don't know how else to tell this to the people, not just the U.S., but Canada and the U.K. and a lot of these. Predominantly, you think because you're white that you everything's going to go your way. Well, like a lot of us have been trying to point out for a long time now. Yeah, in democracies, it's all about power of numbers. It's all about mob rule. And whether they're people that rely on big government, and that's not fully broken down into just racial divide, because there's a lot of white people that rely on government too. But we are definitely seeing that we're on the precipice of seeing the realization come to fruition that there are enough people now in our countries that rely on big government, that rely on the state as a means to an end, as a means to give them social political clout. They're showing that if they choose to, they're more than willing to use their power of numbers to overwhelm the minority white people in any particular, whether it's a state or a province or a country. They're showing that, hey, if we want to, we can show up en masse and negate how the politics of the day plays out in your country. This should be, if it's nothing else, it should at the very least be a warning sign to white people that, hey, if you just keep relying on using the power of numbers, then you're going to find out, well, you should have found out already, but you're going to find out real quickly in the future that you just don't have those power numbers, right? Especially when you look at how many of these how the countries now, Canada, the U.S., and all these other Western predominantly Anglo-Saxon countries, hey, they're bringing in lots of illegal or legal immigrants from foreign countries that are going to overwhelm and overpower your preferences, your opinions, or what you would prefer as far as how the political system functions in your country. They now have shown they have the power of numbers. What are you going to do? What are you fucking going to do when they have the power of numbers? What are you going to do? Cry, whine about it? Or wait for some kind of violent revolution in this modern era, right? With all the powers and tools at the disposal of the central planners, the control freaks, and the authoritarians, is this the time that you're going to choose to what? Wait till it's way too late, and then what? You're going to revolt? See how that's going to work out for you? I don't know. I'm at the stage now where it's like I'm almost ready to give up trying to even make these videos and try to explain shit to people, because most people don't seem. I mean, it constantly shows me these things. This shows me that, well, white people are either unwilling, incapable, or have no capacity to affect real political change in their country. You got lucky, I guess, with Trump because you shocked the shit out of the nation and you didn't tell them what you were going to do and you did it anyways. So I guess you could try that again. But they're on to you now. The left-wingers, right, these sociopaths, these control freaks, these authoritarians, these collectivists, they're on to you now. Yeah, you got away with it one time, but they're on to you now. And they're showing that they're going to push back harder than you could ever hope to. And they will probably, at the end, and listen, as far as I'm concerned, I think they will win. I wish that wasn't the case, and I don't even like suggesting that these people are going to win in the end. But listen, if any system relies on the power of numbers and the mob mentality, yeah, in the end, the people that seek to impose their ideological preferences or that wealth redistribution model, the ones that want to use the power of the state and impose their will on others, they will in the end eventually, they always win out because they always become the majority. In any social or political system, you know, the people that get promised fucking lots of freebies and goodies, of course more and more people are going to go that route than the ones that are going to choose to be, oh, I'm going to be staunchly independent, do the right thing, and be principled. You fuckers, well, like me, we're always going to be in the minority. We're always going to be in the minority. So when you live under a system of governance where it's the majority that always overwhelms the minority, don't expect liberty lovers to ever have any say or positions of authority. That's never going to happen. I don't expect it'll happen in my fucking lifetime unless a whole lot changes. Like I say, I think the only one thing that could really truly change things and flip things back up to something being at least somewhat normal would be as if there was a full-on economic collapse. Outside of that, I believe that the leftists will eventually, the right-wingers, or I wouldn't even call them right-wingers because a lot of the right-wingers are just a bunch of collectivists too. But I guess the true small, limited government, freedom, liberty lover types, you're going to see time and time again. You might get a little gain here and there because you were really strategic and you did something. And the amount of work and effort you put into doing that to gain that one time where you, look, we won. But you're going to see that's going to be beat the fuck out of you when you see that the leftists will just constantly use the power of numbers to overwhelm you when they see that, oh, there's a threat. They don't show up, they don't use their power of numbers normally because they don't perceive a threat because they're the ones that are in the positions of power authority or they're political masters or deities. But when they recognize that there's a challenge to their authority, they'll show you that they'll use their power of numbers to beat you down every single fucking time. Conservatives, you really need to start thinking better. If you go the conservative route, well, just be willing to accept that not only are you going to be losers, but you're going to cause the rest of the people in the country, libertarians and classical liberals and independents and free thinkers, you're going to cause us all to be losers too. So you can go ahead and stick with your ideological tribalism, right? Your social conservatism and your little small base of support. Well, you go ahead and do that. But in the end, we're all going to fucking lose. We are all going to lose. It's not going to be just you. It's not just going to be me. But the majority of the people, even the people that are voting for these fucking Democrats, these socialists, these ones that want to cater and use benevolent platitudes and bullshit rhetoric to give them some pretense of to curry favor with the population, even they will all end up losing in the end. Well, except for a very, 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 very small group or band of people. I mean, those people, they seem to benefit no matter what. But the overwhelming majority of the population, the 98% of black women and the 93% of black men, you think you're going to do better? You think that you're going to do better in your personal life because Doug Jones is now going to be a senator instead of Roy Moore? Well, see how that works out for you. Something tells me that you'll be kicking yourself in the ass at some point in the future. The political process, well, there's a reason why I've rejected a long time ago, and why this is just further evidences of why I should never even want to delve back into the fray. It's not going to work out. It's just a whole lot of getting your hopes up for a whole lot of letdown, as far as I'm concerned. It's just the reality of the way things are, folks. You know, numbers are numbers. You know, people that understand math, people like myself that realize that they can use the power of numbers. Well, I'm realistic enough to recognize that if they want to use the power of numbers, we can't win. Same like in places like Ontario and a lot of places in Canada. Listen, the leftists, the ones that rely on big government, they have already reached the point now where they have enough numbers. They've amassed enough people under that tent that they can overwhelm anybody, anyone that opposes them. And if they choose to, they're going to keep that system humming and going along until, like I say, the final nail in the coffin is placed. And then, well, society then, at that point, will break down completely. And then it's just a matter of the battle for the minds of the masses and see who's going to be the next band of ideological populism that will take hold and grip on the powers and controls of society. What a way to live. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.